Welcome back to Season 3 of Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw. With me again today, I have Janelle Wheeler.
Hi.
And Matthew Aguilar.
What up?
All right, guys, so we're back. Summer's here. Movies are coming back. The industry's getting going again. I'm happy because we have some exciting stuff to talk about. Now that movies are back filming, releasing, and doing everything they need to do, we have important updates that we can see and kind of discuss with you guys. So today, we're taking one of the biggest ones, which is the reveal of the next new Spider-Man movie costume for Spider-Man No Way From Home, which was leaked by surprise, merchandise. So we have another Marvel movie merchandise leak we got to talk about. We're going to get into some things from the week that happened on the DC side as well. We got news of a new Justice League Dark spinoff that's happening. Some very important Green Lantern series casting that might be going down. And, of course, we got to talk about that last episode of Loki, baby. We got to break down what happened. And, oh, man, there's so much that happened. And talk about all the new theories we have now as we get even further down the Loki rabbit hole. Plus, as I said, new movies are out again. So this week we're going to be reviewing one you can watch at home and one you can watch in theaters. And that will be the Tomorrow War and the Forever Purge. So stay tuned for that as well. And, of course, this is Comic Book Nation, so we have comics to talk about.
Yeah.
All right, let's get it started right up at the top. Spider-Man No Way Home. So like I said, merchandising reveal. Merchandise kind of started to leak for No Way Home. Lego had a set that they put out. And what a set it was. It was Spider-Man and MJ's visit to Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum. And that's where we got our first official kind of real leak of what the new costume would be. But the internet went in, and before long, within an hour, I think we had people were pulling images from every kind of promotional corner of the Sony Marvel universes to basically compile an entire photo gallery of what this new Spider-Man No Way Home from costume will look like, which Matt actually put together for us this morning. So we even have after kind of breaking the first one, we also have an updated gallery if you want to go on Comicbook.com Marvel and check that out. But what did you guys think of the costume?
More Doctor Strange.
I knew this
wasn't the question.
I'm just excited about anything relating to Doctor Strange. So I'm absolutely pumped about the costumes. I'm pumped about Spider-Man. I hope this doesn't spoil too much, but if I put a link in the chat, if you guys want to see what we're referencing, I'm looking at it right now. The Spider-Man costume is gorgeous in my opinion. It's stacked. It looks manly and beefy, and it's wielding some Doctor Strange energy, which is so cool and I'm so excited about. We got a black and gold pop of Spider-Man. It looks almost like it's like a Black Panther-esque Spider-Man, but gold instead of purple. It's just cool. It's just really cool to see. Strange makes a really cool debut. He's totally channeling some Home Alone, the original movie vibes, as the scary snow shoveler. I actually don't love that one, but it's fine. I just get to see his face, and that's all that matters. And anyways, I will stop. That's my opinion. Anything related to Doctor Strange, which to me, the top three, the two Spider-Man suits, and obviously Doctor Strange, give me some Doctor Strange vibes. So I'm very excited about him.
I love Janelle's enthusiasm on that, by the way. That was infectious. So I will say, I love casual Doc Strange.
You do? Okay.
Snow shovel and snow boots and whatever. I just give me a whole line of those, Doctor Strange in the kitchen, Doctor Strange cleaning the bathroom, Doctor Strange doing the yard. I would buy that whole set. That'd be great.
In a swimsuit.
Going to the pool. So I love that. On the suits, the black and gold looks incredible, especially by the way in pop form, because for whatever reason, and well actually for one big reason. So the pops, because the eyes are so big and they're so highlighted with the bright white, it offsets the black and gold really, really well. The figures do too, but they're smaller obviously, so you don't really get that pop. But man, that looks good. It was giving me very much like old school armored Spider-Man vibes with the silver, but obviously with the gold and a modern update. I don't love the other one as much, and it's just because I like the Infinity War Spidey suit. I don't love the Infinity War Spidey suit. So like, you know, it's kind of like this is very much just an upgrade and a tweaking to that. I get people love the gold, but that's just never been. I mean,
I'm looking at that one. It looks like Captain Marvel, Spider-Man or something. Like,
right, and that I was at, when they first showed the promo art, there was like a really quick shot, and the way it looked, it didn't look gold in the picture; it looked white. And I went, "Oh, they're going like Marvel's Spider-Man." Like,
that would actually be really cool.
I was like, "That looks cool," and then it was like gold, and I was like, "Ah." Like, I kind of worked myself up to wanting the other one.
Marvel Spider-Man suit was one of the big comparisons people made. I, for one, was kind of interested because I feel like this suit is in some ways more so than the Iron Spider suit. And there was a lot of, Iron Spider was trending because people were saying kind of what you were saying, Matt. There was this whole debate about whether the Iron Spider suit from Infinity War actually is cool. You know, we get into all that. But leaving that on the side, I felt like this suit is in some ways kind of a direct homage to Iron Man, which he, of course, is Peter's mentor in the series. Especially comes out in the Lego figure. When you look at it, the way they draw like the stuff on the little Lego figure's body, it almost looks like Iron Man armor-esque. Which is a thing we also have to note to be careful of in these merchandise things. You don't know where the line between reality of the movie and just merchandising flourishes, begins and ends. So we don't know, like, you know, when it comes to like exact textures and all that stuff, you know, whatever. Oh, Rich, Lego sets hold up, not to interrupt you. Rich is in the booth. He says he has a picture for it. We're getting high tech around here. We can show everybody who's watching the stream. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there we go.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see that Iron Man reference. I can't believe I didn't go for that like right at the top. Duh.
But I like your Captain Marvel reference. I didn't think of that, but now that I'm looking at it now, I can't unsee that. So Oops. You know that like that fits Matt's agenda really well.
I like that.
That figure was very much made for me. Plus, I dig the magic stuff too. I dig the magic effects on it. I'm curious to see that.
Best.
I actually think in this case the pops outshined all the other things. I will be interested. There was also that reveal, and it probably again is a toy, straight up toy. It's probably not in the movie. However, I kind of want to see the bike. If that is actually a thing, that thing looked actually pretty dang cool. So if that ends up making it into the movie, it's not a spider buggy, but hey, whatever, I'll take it.
We have a couple comments. Superhero Grow says, not so hot on the suit. I'm with the Chris Killian mindset, which I have not heard his take yet. Do you guys know what Chris said about it?
I know he said something because it's Chris, but I don't know what he said exactly.
That's true. I have not heard it yet, but I will make sure to take a listen later.
Yes, Cunning doesn't really love it either. Cunning just wants the black or the white. Oh my god, the red and blue. Jeez, Janelle, the red. I'm just trying to turn him into like Venom basically right now.
Yeah, it's got the Marvel Spider-Man style logo that like goes above the shoulders and all that, but it's got the Infinity War color scheme, which I like half of those. So if they just went all the way, all the way with one, hey, cool.
Here's the black and gold.
The black and gold looks sick. I think the black and gold looks awesome.
Yeah, what is the blue?
I feel like this is a throwaway suit like that Iron Man armor in Iron Man 3, though.
Oh, it's kind of got the same vibes as like the stealth suit in Far From Home. You know what I mean? That like, it pops up for whatever, and then it's like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, look, and I saw someone mention that like, oh my god, why do we have to have so many suits? It's just the nature of merchandising and toys, man. They gotta have toys. Okay, it's the same reason why Cable had flippers and a harpoon gun in the Toy Wiz line of like undersea Cable. Cable's never going underwater. That's how he doesn't have to do that, but they had to sell a toy. So
also, based on what we've heard about this movie, I mean, you could really just call this Spider-Man : all the merch, because like, there's going to be characters. I mean, rumored to be characters from multiple Spider-Man franchises, some in new suits. Like, there's going to be toys on toys on toys on toys on toys. I mean, we should note, like, the Lego stuff and all this other stuff is all part of a very large rollout of No Way Home merchandise. Yeah. Like, there are Lego sets that invoke, like, a Mysterio drone fight. Now has people thinking, oh, well, we know Mysterio's back. I'm not going off the cliff. I'm not Jim Viscardi, so I'm not going, like, fully off the cliff. But there's going to be a lot to this movie and a lot to this merchandising, for sure, because this movie is packed. I'm just hoping we see Tom Holland once or twice.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that.
Yo, look at that! Look at that stylish. I always love the whip hands. They always just make me happy on a figure. It does look good. It looks good in figure form, I will say.
Yeah, I feel like it looks better there than on the pop.
But I agree with Kofi. There are so many people. Like, if you look at just all the promotional images, there are so many characters in this movie. And like, again, it's just it's one of those things, man. Is he really gonna get time to can we just get Tom Holland Spidey just being Tom Holland
And
Spidey for a whole movie?
His supporting characters are great in his movies. Like, I hope that all these cameos don't, give us less Zendaya and like stuff like that.
Right, because they're like they're scene chewing characters.
Right.
Like, they're not just like, oh, hey, look, like Loki turned into Cat for that one scene. You know what I mean? It's not like that. It's like, no, Nick Fury chews up scenery. Doctor Strange chews up scenery.
I mean,
Iron
which is
Man.
fine.
Like, these are all characters that, kind of demand more time.
Right.
And, yeah. So hopefully, fingers crossed. But suit looks cool.
Maybe it'll be a 4-hour movie. I'm cool with that.
Oh,
Jeez,
God, please
stop.
stop.
The real thing we got to talk about here is what the heck is going on with Wong's getup in that Lego toy set.
Okay, I couldn't make it out because the image was kind of small, so I couldn't really see the suit. What does it look like?
It looks like Wong is wearing like 70s style, like, I don't know, also like a Captain Marvel vibe. He has hair. It's really strange.
Yes, hair.
I feel like the way this thing is shaping up in Phase 4, I feel like Wong has a whole sub-story about like what happened to him, because we see him fighting in Shang-Chi.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Now he's in this Lego set. Yeah, he's like wearing like a red and blue getup. He has an afro, basically. And yeah, it's weird. I'm beginning to think a lot more after Loki is going to be affected by the multiverse kind of tweaks and variants and things like that. And I'm kind of wondering if we don't get an alternate kind of like 70s funk version of Wong showing up in Spider-Man No Way Home, because it's a very strange figure, and they say it's Wong. Like, I've read the packaging, like it is Wong.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the Doctor Strange set comes with Doctor Strange, who looks normal, MJ, who looks like she stepped out of the 90s and doesn't at all look like Zendaya, but it's supposed to be her. And then Wong in this weird yellow jacket, blue pants with red getup, and like a belt, like a curtain belt tied around his thing. I don't know how to describe it. But like, yeah, it's pretty strange. I got to know what Wong's life has been.
Well, we read a comic, so I don't know.
But
reference the comics.
That's neither here nor there. I'm kind of taking a tangent at this point. But
overall, I love them. What do you guys think as a whole?
I'm always so careful to start weighing in on this stuff until we actually see official stills, and then even then I need to see it in motion on screen, like before I start getting all like freaked out about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This suit is so close though to the Infinity War suit that I feel like I can make a semi halfway decent judgment on it and just be like, that suit was fine. And I think that suit is fine. Like, it'll look cool in certain moments, in certain scenes, just because of the gold pops. But like, overall, it probably won't go down as like my favorite or near my favorite Spidey look. The black and gold, I'm very curious to see how that looks, because it could look awesome. And it, it's also like a nice, like, it's going to be a minute right before we get like a true black and white Venom-ish Spidey with the black and white suit, probably for a minute. So like, this is about as close as we're going to get for a second. So yeah, that's me.
By the way, Rankin says, I watched Zack Snyder's Justice League. I can totally watch a 4-hour Spider-Man movie. Let's go. I'm with you on that.
You guys need to relax. This ain't home streaming. Relax. Like, we're going to be in theaters. All right.
They would literally have to give us a bathroom break.
Yeah. Or just an extra large cup. One of the two. All right.
Oh.
Yeah, I said it.
Way to go.
You know my circumstances right now. I have no problem saying this kind of thing. All right. On that cryptic note, we're going to take a break, pay some bills, come back, and when we come back, we're going to talk what's happening on the DC side, plus Loki Episode 4 and the Forever Purge, Tomorrow War, and some comics. Stay tuned for all of it. Who needs eardrums?
It got me.
Who needs eardrums?
That's fine.
All right, let's talk about DC. So early this week, we got news that there's going to be already a spinoff to this Justice League Dark project that's happening over on the HBO Max side. And I feel like I'm back in the studio with you guys discussing the absurdity of a Spider-Man Madam Web movie, because what we're supposedly going to get is DC's or J.J. Abrams' Madam X, which will be tied into the larger Justice League Dark universe and follow Madam Xanadu. Oh man. A lot of DC characters out here. Who thought this would be the one we'd be getting a series about?
I still don't know if I'm going to get a series about this. This qualifies as like right now. I feel like we're back in like Nightwing and like Batgirl territory when those were first announced. When like DC was just like announcing everything, and I don't know what's real and what's not. And like the Justice League Dark thing, I'm pumped about, but like. Again, I'm in like very reserved. I want to see stuff actually happening on set, like Flash, before I actually go, hey, that's a thing. So like this spinoff, I don't know if it's real. Like I still won't really believe it until we actually get stuff on it. That's where I am. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with this character. And so I just kind of crash course it, read through, tried to figure out, what's the background on Xanadu. Love the name. My mom always talks about Xanadu. But seriously, it's really cool. And it's mysticism. So I read in the article that it's almost comparable to like a Doctor Strange. I would be very interested in exploring this character more. But as I'm kind of hearing, she's not even really her own like she usually plays like a secondary character even in the comics, so it would be hard to find content for that. Is that correct?
It depends on where. Okay, so like right now, Xanadu is actually a part of Justice League Dark's Ram V's current series, which is running in Justice League. She's great. And she's actually one of the she's a great supporting character, but she doesn't have to be. It's just she's kind of a lot of times either in a team or some kind of alliance thing. She's always used as that. But like to me, she's not. I don't see her on the same line as I do Madam Web. Madam Web is really clearly a MacGuffin character. She is a plot device character that's like, I see things. And then like that forms the plot for whatever story. And people either have to protect her or they go to her for cryptic stuff. Like she's not, to me, a whole movie about her is not, I'm like, what do you even do with that? With Xanadu, you can actually build something around her. It hasn't really been done a ton in the comics though, so it also would give them kind of free reign. It's weird to me that of all the Justice League Dark characters though, she would be the one. Maybe it's for that reason. Maybe it's because you would actually get to do whatever you want kind of and just have to hold to a couple of key points. But like this team has, Etrigan, Constantine, Zatanna's already getting around, but like, it's weird to me.
I'm wondering if it's going to really be a Madam Xanadu focus series, or is this the kind of backdoor to kind of introducing a lot of mystical, supernatural elements of the DC universe, other Justice League Dark characters based on who Madam Xanadu knows, becomes in contact with.
Chimp.
I need that from DC personally, because that's like my favorite side of comics and heroes is the mysticism stuff.
Yeah, we need to read more Justice League Dark on here because I feel like Janelle would just enjoy that series. Yeah, no, I mean, maybe this is how I get my Detective Chimp show.
That's cool.
Backdoor.
Everything about Matt's agenda. But Matt, why don't you take us through the other piece of DC news we got this week, the Green Lantern character, since you wrote that up.
In brightest day. I'm so excited. So we finally got, again, these are all like in talks. These haven't been actually, like most of them anyway, haven't been confirmed by the studio. The one has. So we got a couple more Green Lantern castings over the past like 2 months. The latest one though was, and I'm making sure I'm pronouncing the name right. Is it Tobias Menzies? Did I get that right?
I think it's close enough.
I got that right. So from Game of Thrones, a show that I don't watch, but I've heard he's great in it. But he's been great in a bunch of other things as well, so that helped me. And
he's in The Crown. He's in a lot. He's anything British. He's basically
Outlander. Yeah, like he's great. So he will be playing Sinestro if those reports hold up. And if you were kind of paying attention to some of the descriptions that have come out, the HBO Max Green Lantern series is very much going to be like showing a Sinestro that's still part of the core, that is still like one of, if not the top guy, kind of the most respected core member in the Green Lantern Corps. And then it kind of teases that we'll see that eventual, his kind of dethroning and his, maybe ascent to becoming like the villain that we all know and love personally. And then, gets a yellow powering and all that. But this will be a Green Lantern Sinestro. So having him as part of this would be great. I mean, I think that's a great casting. And so far, I will say the castings for this project have been really good because, of course, we got Finn Wittrock as Guy Gardner, which, again, that was really well received. And the only one the studio has actually confirmed is Jeremy Irvine. I think I'm saying that right. Irvine, might be wrong. But Alan Scott, he will actually be playing. That was confirmed by him on Instagram. I think he actually was like, hey, I'm Alan Scott, which we know is going to be a big part of this series. So far, the only Lanterns we don't have castings for yet that have been kind of mentioned in this project are Simon Baz, Jessica Cruz, and then the new Lantern, which is Bree Jarda, which is like a completely original creation. And by the way, I hope they go like insane. Like I want Volk style, I'm a volcano head Lantern. Like I want ridiculous looking Lantern. Like don't just give me another human. Don't give me another human. That's part of the fun. Yeah. Like there's a squirrel with a ring, man. Like Chip exists like for a reason. That's awesome. I love that part.
There's a housefly with a ring.
I mean, there's a planet. There's a planet that is a giant lantern.
Oh, I remember that book.
Yeah,
that was
awesome,
great.
Man. So like that's the fun of the core. And so I hope they embrace that. I don't want just all humans. So like again, I'm glad we're getting Sinestro though. There are a couple key characters that you need. And so far they've knocked the casting out of the park. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Tobias is awesome. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, I was gonna say he brings like I see why they cast him. He brings that like that's why they hire him for things like Game of Thrones. He played, I think, Edmund Tully in Crown. He plays one of the royals. He has that aristocratic kind of smarmy aristocratic air to him, and he does that so well. But like well layered. He's not always just a generic bad guy. He has good layers. I was going to say. And so that's what you need for Sinestro because that's basically Sinestro's whole jam.
Beautifully said.
And this follows up, by the way. One of the best parts about the old Green Lantern movie was Mark Strong as Sinestro. He was fantastic in that role. And that's why, even though it made no sense, like point A to point B of how he goes from being a Green Lantern to being a Yellow Lantern, like made no sense. They just wanted to fit that as a tag at the end of that movie. It was still awesome to see him because like he was a great Sinestro. So it bums me out that we're not going to get more of him. But this is a great choice if you're going to kind of go in a slightly different direction.
Yeah, not having a ton of knowledge about Green Lantern, I'm slowly getting into, each one of these characters and kind of understanding. I mean, there are a lot of Green Lanterns to catch up on. Like, there's
there's a ton.
But he's so good. He was so good. He's really this actor, Tobias. He's not just exactly what Kofi said, like evil and mean and awful. He is also like. He takes you on like a roller coaster. Just in The Crown, I was like, I hate this guy, and then like, wait a minute, I love this guy, and then like, he's great. He's a really good actor.
And that's exactly Sinestro. Like
perfect.
When he's in the core, you're supposed to kind of like, man, he's like
you respect him, but he can also be a doofus. Yeah, not a doofus, a jerk. Yeah, exactly. That's how he was on The Crown. That seems perfect. Cool.
All right, so we're happy with this one.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Very much.
Good. Moving on, let's talk Loki episode 4. Wow, what an episode this one was. So many twists and turns. Like so many crazy things just happened in this episode. We're going to talk full spoilers for Loki. So if you haven't seen the episode, you may not want to jump into this one because, we're going to talk full spoilers for Loki because it's been days and what else would we do? I know some people save it for Friday night. So if you are those people, drop off for about I'd say 6 or 7 minutes and then come back and join us. Or just wait for the spoiler warning to be gone while we're on mute. That's better because we still get our streams. All right. So, Loki episode 4. Let's just go over the big points. Timekeepers are fake as hell. Mobius! Is he dead? We thought for a minute that Loki died, but not so much. He woke up in some other realm where he is greeted by multiple variant Lokis, including some of our favorites.
How's all the money?
Yeah, Richard E. Grant is classic Loki, wearing a classic comic book getup, looking like he just stepped out of Comic-Con, which is awesome. And, of course, Kid Loki, which had a lot of fans freaking out. Plus, we got some really strange new ones, like a black version called Boastful Loki, who's carrying Thor's hammer, and Alligator Loki, who might be the greatest
Gators!
creation.
They make can I just say I hope they make that character the arch nemesis of Throg, because that needs to happen. For
I thought
those
that he
who
was
don't
just
know.
the pet of
Well,
Kid Loki.
I mean, they bill him as his own.
Yeah, and
as
he has
Loki.
he has his own Loki crowns.
Okay,
I mean,
good to
he's gang. He's official.
Yes.
And for those who don't know, Throg is the frog version
Thor.
of Loki, who is dope as anything. So I just hope they do that. They don't even have to fight. We don't have to see Throg. I just hope that that's his backstory. That would be amazing.
Is awesome.
Yeah, you hear a lot of people in the comments, and then we've heard this echoed that a lot of people were so distraught about Mobius that they didn't even care about Loki dying.
I already had gotten my emotional feels out with Mobius. So then when it happened to Loki, I was just kind of like, wait, what? I was just very confused.
I just didn't believe it. But that was the thing. Mobius didn't really actually hit me at all. But it was because I didn't believe that they were all dead.
Really didn't?
No, because that's how I kind of felt, whether that is going to be proven sorry.
Fine.
Right or wrong. I'm dying over here. Whether that's going to be proven right or wrong remains to be seen. But and then I might have it. It might be an after effect where I'm like, oh no, he's really dead, and then have my moment. But I don't know. That's one
of the questions. Is Mobius gone? Do we believe that Mobius is gone, forever?
That's weird.
Or do you think he came back where Loki came back?
I'm leaning towards that. But if it happens where he really is dead, I'll have my moment. But that's why it didn't hit me at all.
Well, I do deep dives, if anybody knows. And in some footage of from the past that has been released, we have seen Mobius again in a different scene. So spoilers, whatever. I truly believe that he's coming back, because we do have him driving a car all crazily. And
we haven't seen that, right? So yeah,
we haven't seen it yet in the episodes. So I do think he's coming back. Thankfully, personally.
Same with Vote Loki. That scene was so used in trailers, and then we still haven't seen.
I'm where is it? I've been waiting for Vote Loki. Do you think this is gonna? I think it's gonna obviously happen in this other reality, wherever they are. This trapped timeline, I guess. I think the TVA is using this timeline as a prison to keep all of their variant Lokis from coming back into any other splinter timelines. That's what I think. What do you think?
Kofi, what do you think?
Kofi dropped out.
Oh, sorry, my bad. No, I think okay, so number one, I just would like to do the victory lap for a minute.
Okay.
I was right. I was last episode, I was hey, man, it'd be great if they had this little force of Lokis, including Kid Loki, still out there. And then they have this whole thing where they're leading against the TVA, which now we know is not robots and not whatever, right? So I was happy about that. But then also, I think there's going to be a leader, obviously, to this little rebellion, this little force. Vote Loki would be a perfect one. Do you think be that?
Our Loki is Vote Loki, or do you think there's another variant that is Vote Loki?
I think there's another. Oh man, that's a good question, because my initial thing was I thought there was another variant. I assumed there was another variant, but
I assumed that it was ours.
It's interesting. You could make that jump. That would be a natural. Oh my God, what if in this place, right? Because we don't know how time
is working.
Works in this place compared to outside, right? So what? Well, see, but then there's Kid Loki, and that throws that theory off. But okay, take him out of the equation. Let's just say time moves weird, and I'm going down the Reddit hole that I hate going down. But okay,
no, that's what people come here for. Let's go.
So what if time moves differently here? And so there was an election of the variant Lokis for a leader, and our Loki runs to be the leader of this group. And then that's why he's got the Vote Loki stuff and whatever. And then when they make it out, because like if I remember correctly, that trailer that showed him had a bunch of. Did it have a bunch of TVA people around him?
We couldn't tell.
No, they were like
was.
Vikings.
Yeah, and that
Okay.
and that makes and I think your theory makes sense because adding on, the TVA just tried to prune my ass, but I got back up in here.
I was just about to say that.
What you were saying is, what Janelle was saying is, I don't think this is a prison for just Lokis because of what we've seen already in the background. I think this is where they've been sending all of their quote unquote deleted items actually get sent here. And as I wrote this up about this post-credit scene, I was saying, I feel like it could be like computer rules based on what classic Loki tells him. Like it's like email rules, right? Like you delete an email and then it goes to a trash can and then you have to go to the trash can and say like delete.
Permanently delete. Yeah.
So I feel like that's the kind of situation we're in. But if this is pieces from all different times and stuff and variants that they've thrown in, then the scene with Vote Loki makes sense because I think, as Matt may have deduced, like our Loki, of course, tries to angle himself to become the leader of this group.
Right.
And what we're seeing are a bunch of warriors from all over the place and all over time, like stuck in here together.
Not wanting him to be leader.
Yeah, and that's why you see like Vikings and whatnot and all that stuff happening.
And hopefully Mobius will be part, here as well. That's such a cool idea, Kofi, because like whenever they reset any timeline, like for example, the toys from the first scene, like any of the junk, like the trash heap of the TVA, like that's so cool. Like I'm like including all of the things that go along with each variant, all the things that change whenever they reset, the timeline. That's such a cool idea. I love that.
And this show can for me anyway, this show can do no wrong. I have immensely. It's been such a breath of fresh air for me, and almost kind of reignited a love for like the MCU because I was getting a little, tired of like some of the like repetition. But I've also, by the way, gone back. I've been watching a lot of MCU stuff recently, though, like some of the old stuff, just rewatches, and like certain movies hold up really, really well, and others don't. Even like the ones I like that I really loved back then. Yeah. But this is such they're just killing it. Like there's no like other than the like forced Sif scene, which was fine. I liked it. I didn't like love it as much as everybody else did. But like that's other than that, man, and even that was great. I'm just saying like that was probably the thing I was least excited about. But like this show's so good. I love this show so much.
Danny the Pug says Loki is the best show by far. Danny agrees with you, Matt. I agree.
Night and day. And man, it's so good. And that's not to disparage other things. I'm just saying this show it's awesome.
Yeah. I guess the one last thing we should probably go over is who are the real timekeepers. And because you guys have such a deep, deep knowledge of the comic books, and I know it goes crazy, I've been kind of deep diving, trying to figure out this. I'm just going to throw something out there. The Time Twisters. Do you think that the Time Twisters? Look at me. I'm doing my comic book research. I know.
I don't even know. I don't know what you're talking about, nerd.
Ooh, I love it. Matt danced around.
You're out nerding me here.
I was doing the twist.
Yes. Time Twisters.
Or is that the shake? It's whatever. It doesn't matter.
Whichever.
It's close.
What are your thoughts on that, Matt?
So Time Twisters is, this show is making me do the things I don't like to do. I don't like to go down rabbit holes. However, Time Twisters is interesting. I know Kofi still thinks it's Kang.
Okay.
Right? Or does that change?
I feel like that'd be a lot easier than the Time Twister.
I think this is all Kang.
Okay. And by the way, I will shout out that one Time Lord did look a lot like a various version of Kang in the comics. Right? Well, I wasn't seeing that.
Listen,
like that was very overt, I thought.
I'm going to take a discussion out of Black Nerd Fandom and place it here, which is that there are only certain kinds of facial structures to human beings. Like different races of human beings have different facial structures. What? It's hard to make a statue that doesn't look like Jonathan Majors, a black man, and not have people be like, that looks like a black dude. Like, what is going on here? Like, who is this dude? And in Black Nerd Fandom, I mean, that's what like the big discussion is like, they designed, there's definitely a black guy's face that looks like Jonathan Majors. Like, this is going to be Kang. Like, and I'm sticking with Black Nerd Fandom on this.
So we have Time Twisters and we have Kang.
Didn't Kofi one time you said it could have been another variant Loki kind of pulling the strings?
I thought that was my Richard E. Grant theory, that it would be cool if it was a Loki. It found out he had been doing this for years and never really kind of had been trying to succeed and then grew old, which I think his age does still need to be explained.
Mm-hmm.
But my new thing is, I hope that classic Loki, because we did a piece that's really popular on the site now about how in the background of that variant Loki shot, you can see the ruins of what is basically Avengers Tower in the background.
Oh yeah. Which version though?
But yeah, exactly. And it's like, I think that's from a variant. My theory is that's from a variant timeline where Loki actually won the Battle of New York, which we know can't happen because of the sacred timeline. And I'm just hoping it's Richard E. Grant's classic Loki, like actually won that battle. And as soon as he was like, yes, like all the TVA people showed up, grabbed him, and then just like, reset that timeline. And when they set off those charges that erase things, they erased the, a Birkin Avengers Tower and all that stuff, and it ended up here. That's just my theory.
Okay, so what's crazy is I think somewhere in this there is the answer, and I think I'm gonna say the Loki theory for me, only because for everything to keep spinning around, like this is very much a dissemination of Loki as a concept and as a character, like the show in general. So it would be very on point for the main string puller to be a Loki variant. Now, I don't know if they are like, I think we might see a character that has elements of a bunch of other characters, but you started out as a Loki and then maybe has become something else. So I don't know necessarily it'll be like a reveal and like out walks a very clearly looking Loki. I think it'll be something else or someone else, but like it's very much like once they start to talk about who they are, where they came from, you're like, oh, they're clearly originally a Loki variant. I think that's more on brand for the storytelling that this show has taken on. If this were a movie, like if Loki had been a movie, then I might side more towards Kang. I think the Disney Plus shows do more setup, but they also work more with broad concepts as opposed to like, hey, we're going to introduce a major villain here. I think they work with like the auxiliary stuff more. So I don't know. I think that would be a big reveal for me for a Disney Plus show. I don't know if they'll do that. That's not to disparage Disney Plus shows. I'm just saying like their patterns don't seem to indicate that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I will say props for the time twisters.
Thank you.
By the way,
they don't make. I did the research, man.
Yeah,
so,
they were clearly homaging them.
Yes.
In that sequence.
I feel like should we like give a little rundown on time?
Probably should for norms.
So timekeepers are obviously what we thought they were. They turned out to be AI, but apparently what is the one survivor who created the timekeepers at the end of the timeline? He grows these 3 things that become the timekeepers. But there's also an alternate reality where the time twisters are like kind of like the evil version of the timekeepers, and they're kind of like a warped bad version, and they could be the reason why there was a time war to begin with. And they could be kind of like pulling the strings and making sure that the timekeepers never get born so that they can maintain power.
Because they end up instead of protecting time, they end up actually going back through time and to their namesake, twisting and messing with stuff or whatever.
Yeah,
and it is 3 alien-looking beings, and they were grown. Yeah, like all those things. Like
the same
you could very much connect that. And but I think it's
too much for this show.
Well, we might see though that person who is pulling the strings has elements of their story. That's what Marvel typically does, right? So they'll take 3 characters that no one cares about or remembers, and then they'll shove them all into one and go, hey, here's a character you're supposed to care about.
Yeah.
But here's like a bunch of stuff. I really think you might see that like because it's the last TVA director that creates them, right? So I think you might see some of that in that character story, but I'm still betting it's one person kind of at the helm.
It's very much like Deviants in the Eternals. That's the vibes that it gives me.
Yeah.
Like Yeah, that's really cool. Superhero Grow said that.
Cool. I mean, I think it's still going to be Kang. I really do. I think there's too many clues. There's the facial stuff. There's a kind of visual hints all over the TVA and in promotional posters. And also, you don't just throw like Ravonna Renslayer into this without a reason, right? Like, and we know already, we saw in this last episode, she's a lot more kind of nefarious than we thought she was. So obviously she knew about the timekeepers, and she knows, like, and she's been maintaining this whole little kind of balancing act with the TVA. And you've got to question, like, why and who for. And again, in the comics, she is multiple variants of her are the love interest of Kang, but other variants of her are against Kang. So I feel like there's still a chess match being played here that goes with Kang. I'm not going to overextend myself into rabbit hole land and say I figured out all the angles, but I think that there is a chess game being played here, and it involves Kang. Now, is it Kang and Immortus, or Kang trying to secure his own creation, or Immortus trying to prevent Kang's creation? Like, I don't know.
I don't disagree with you, by the way, that Kang is a part of the broader plan. I'm just saying, for this particular plot, for this particular story, I don't know if they will reveal him to be the big person of this show, just because I feel like that's something they would save.
I think they will, and I think that because I think one line that sticks out to me, and I think it'll be at the very end, it might even be like a really kind of stick it to you button scene at the end of the series, because I think Sylvie and Loki are discussing, like, you know, they've been having all these discussions about, like, and Mobius too, like, what is it to be a Loki, and like, what does that mean? And I think at one point, I forget who says it, maybe it's Tom Hiddleston who goes on and says, like, they don't die, but they also lose, right? Like,
that's what Lady Loki. That's what Sylvie said. Yeah.
Yeah, they also lose, and I think that this will look like Loki's triumphant in this series because his whole thing is to escape serving in Thanos and ultimately being killed by him, right?
Right.
Like, that's his thing. And so I think he'll think he made it out, and he'll be like so celebratory. But we're gonna get a button scene where we find out, like, no, this is still under Kang's umbrella, and Hiddleston's Loki could even get erased.
I don't want him to get erased. I want a season 2.
Well, there already is a season 2.
Yeah, which makes sense then to me, that if they may, I'm kind of with Matt. I feel like it's going to be Loki in this first season. Boom. I'm saying it.
Yeah.
But we all are making our predictions, so that one's fine.
Good.
Obviously, the time twisters, I just think it's too much to unpack for, like, even Kofi's like, what the heck are you talking about, Janelle? Like, if Kofi doesn't know it, then it's not happening. Like, it's just not happening.
But
when
I love
you get into this Kang Immortus stuff and the Timekeepers and TV and Marvel Comics, I mean, they've done entire events trying to straighten this stuff out, and it's only more confusing.
Yeah, they still have yet to really do.
Yeah.
Oh man, so good.
Cool.
All right, that's Loki. Drop us your theories on Comicbook.com, Marvel, or hit us up at the Comic Book Nation, at Comic Book Nation Twitter feed, and drop us your Loki theories. We want to hear them. All right, moving along. I'm going to do a quick, just kind of run through of the movies of the week this week, since I made the effort to see both. I'll start with the Forever Purge. The Forever Purge is now in theaters, continuing the kind of Purge series. This was supposed to be the final installment, but it's not going to be. They're going to keep it going. So I think this is like, what, the Purge
90?
No, it's either 5 or 6. I forget which one it is. Because we had Purge, the Purge Anarchy, the Purge Election Year, the first Purge. I guess this is the fifth one. Yeah, the Forever Purge, and we had 2 seasons of the TV show.
Jeez.
Which the
TV
TV show,
so much out of that franchise. You loved the TV show, didn't you?
I did. It was very interesting because it kind of showed what happens on Purge night, and then the tensions that mount throughout the year before the next Purge night, and how people deal with all that. And it's actually very relevant. The TV show, even though it got canceled, is a very relevant kind of stage setter for this one, which is the Forever Purge. And the premise of this one is that the Purge happens. They've reinstated the Purge. It was because they stopped it, I think, after Purge election year. And then they reinstate it. And because of all the tensions that have mounted, it's just a reflection of current American society and all the polarization and kind of stuff that's happening in there. And so they reinstate the Purge as a solution. But this time, when it ends, there's a whole separatist group that doesn't want to let it end. And so they become forever purgers, and they basically launch an insurrection to really keep the purge going, and for all these kind of political and bigoted reasons to deal with that. And so this is a ham-fisted kind of reflection of our society at the moment. And the thing I will say about the Forever Purge is, while it still is viscerally entertaining like a Purge movie, it does feel late. I mean, it feels like if this had come out last year, like right before the election, this would have been like, a cultural, lightning rod in the best way for this movie. But this is obviously dealing with stuff that happened before the pandemic and all that stuff. And it feels a little dated in concept that way. But still very, very good. But if you don't like kind of ham-fisted, overtly kind of socio-political things, like this one is not subtle about it, So that's what this one is kind of dealing with. But it kind of while it offers something new, because what it does is basically show you an entire city being gripped in the purge, the usual protections, you know what I mean? Like there are no shelters anymore. Like there are no, purge things, because everybody lets their guard down. They're like, oh, purge night is over. We all come out. We go back about our daily lives where there's no violence. And then this mass violence just erupts. So there's a lot of interesting and good sequences that way, where people are like, the main characters are fleeing through streets, and there's so much tension about, is somebody going to come around the next corner with a shotgun, like all of that. But at the same time, you also just kind of, it just feels like a straight up Carnage movie more so than a Purge movie in some ways, because the night and the tension of getting through each hour is what propels these movies a lot. And this one's a lot different in that sense. But hey, after this, there's some developments that I'm not going to spoil for you, but there's clear reasons why they're going to keep this going now, because something pretty drastic happens at the end. And yeah, they now have fodder for Purge movies out for a whole new trilogy. So it ain't going to stop the Purge.
The Purge.
Yeah, but it's good. And this one is very much a very Latin themed installment of it. Most of the lead characters are Latin, but they also partner with a white family, and it's a whole thing about that. But yeah, it was good. So this is for a very demographic. This is it was packed in there because this is like the Southern Purge movie. So like everybody in Nashville was actually in the theater last night to see this. So yeah, if you ever like cowboys and Southern stuff and you've been wanting to do a Purge about it, here's your movie. Boom.
So a quick question.
Yeah.
Do I have to have? Could someone start with this movie? Like if they wanted to jump back in? Because like I watched the first, I actually think it was the first Purge movie. I think I watched the first Purge movie and then didn't see any of the others. So like, could I jump into this without having to see? Because I know there was kind of a continuing thread of stuff and certain characters that pop back up. Do I have to have that to get to watch this?
No, because this is kind of a soft, it's not a reboot, but it's a soft reboot of the concept. Okay. It literally is. They ended the Purge because the last one, put a pretty definitive end, because there was a whole revolution against the Purge, all that stuff, and it was successful. The new founding fathers got held to account or taken down, all that stuff. So this one's just kind of a soft reboot. They brought back the Purge. It's happening again. Now it goes wrong. The end. You can jump in here. Yeah, and it definitely changes the playing field for what these movies will be about going forward. So, yeah, you can jump in here. Good question. Moving on. The Tomorrow War. So, ironically, I think we're on the same theme this week about movies that are, viscerally entertaining and okay on their own, but feel kind of late. The Tomorrow War is very much that. It stars Chris Pratt, and it's on Amazon Prime Video streaming for free if you're a Prime Video member. And the premise is, in the future, there is a war with these aliens 30 years in the future, and the future generation is losing. And so they come back and recruit the older generation from now, or in the near future from now, to travel into the future and fight the war. And there's a whole thing about it. It's kind of like Vietnam, the military draft. You get conscripted. There's all these rules to avoid time paradox about who goes and, what the deal is about going to the future. I'm not going to spoil all that now, but Chris Pratt is an ex-soldier / expert science teacher, good range to have, who gets conscripted into going into the future and taking on this dangerous mission. And what I'll say about the Tomorrow War is it feels good enough on a kind of action sci-fi movie basis. It's better than that trash movie Infinite I watched on the excellent Paramount Plus service, but that Mark Wahlberg movie Infinite, which is like just a really bad version of the old guard. This is more entertaining than that, and Chris Pratt makes it funny and humor, and he's partnered with what's my man from I forget his name from Veep, black dude, I forget his name, but he's funny as hell in it too, and the banter and all that is good. It's the alien design is interesting, but kind of generic. And the battles, this all feels like a mid 2010s action flick, really. Mm-hmm. And so that's my one criticism of it. But since you get to kind of sit at home and stream it on Amazon Prime Video, I feel like that's kind of a trade-off because you're not having to go to a theater and see this old movie. Right. You're sitting at home and you can stream it. And in that sense, if you're looking for like a new movie for this weekend to see on Saturday night or whatever, like it's pretty good for an at-home choice. And like I said, the generic action stuff is made better by not just Chris Pratt, but like the entire cast. There's some really Chloe from 24 is in this. Like there's some good people in this that make it like the banter and stuff, really good. So I would check that out too. The Tomorrow War. All right.
The premise sounded cool. I gotta say the premise sounded awesome.
I mean, it's an interesting premise, but there's a lot of holes in them. I mean, there's a lot of just weird stuff, the premise that they just skip over because they don't want to get too lost in the time travel thing. So they give you like a real quick primer and then they're like, all right, we're moving on because we don't want to get too hung up on this. But that's me. Those are the new movies out. And we have, I believe, both reviews are all up on Comicbook.com movies if you want to read them in their full. All right. Then we want to do comics, or you want to shout out your things first, Matt?
I'll do a quick little shout out, but I won't spend too much time. You can check out my full review of Leverage Redemption on Comicbook.com as well, and we will be having a bunch of interviews with the cast. I am a huge fan of the original Leverage series, and the new one actually brings back almost the entire cast, including the ever so busy Aldous Hodge. Comes back to reprise the character of Hardison. If you don't know what Leverage is, essentially it's like a bunch of ex-villains, essentially. They're like ex-mercs and thieves and things like that. And they end up kind of coming together to kind of do a very Robin Hood-esque thing, right? They're helping people that can't help themselves, and they enlist them as clients, and then they take on a lot of their former employers and a lot of the corrupt businessmen and politicians and mob and things like that like normal enforcement can't really touch sometimes. And it's just like each episode is very much like a heist, or they do some kind of job. So they're always like, it's very Oceans, like the Ocean movies. It's very much that kind of vibe, and it's lighthearted and fun, even though they're dealing with some serious, topics sometimes, or like some screwed up things. It's done with a light touch. So the fact that like the new one is exactly like, it feels like these people never left. So if you were a fan of the original one, which I was, you're gonna really love this. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't. It really feels like they picked up right where they left off. We do get Noah Wiley stepping in as one of the new cast members, and then we get Elise Shannon, who steps in as Hardison's like younger sister, and she is, because he can't be in the whole series because he's obviously like busier than ever these days. So he's in a couple of the episodes, which he's great. But then you get her, and she's like this just bright spot of energy. She is absolutely hilarious. Like, I feel like she's going to be a huge star at some point. So definitely get it on the ground floor now. And it's really fun. So the first 8 episodes pop up on July 9th on IMDb TV, I believe. And then there's going to be more episodes later in the year. But definitely check that out when it hits. I completely recommend it. It's fun.
You want to take us over into comics?
Yeah, let's do comics. So this week we got some interesting things. A lot of the issues this week were kind of bigger, kind of one-shot issues. It is a 5th week in comics, so it's always that kind of week for weird releases. First, let's stick with fun. So let's do Green Arrow 80th anniversary. Which is just a big one shot with a bunch of different Green Arrow creators. It's got a bunch of short stories, though. One of my favorite parts of the issue is actually, it's a short story, but it's kind of done in the form of like a Green Arrow Q&A. it's like his advice on things that you should do that are kind of, do as I say, not as I do. And it shows like panels from his past and then new stuff that is just like ridiculous things that have happened in the life of Green Arrow. Everything from getting like slapped. Right. Yeah.
How to be a great friend.
Yes.
But not.
How to know the difference between like friends and acquaintances, like with that thing with Batman or getting slapped by Aquaman. Like there's so many fun things in that entire
that was a standout for me
sequence. It's so good. But like any kind of anthology or any one shot of this ilk, you're gonna have stuff that's hit and miss. I know some people loved the classic story that starts us off. I was not a fan. I was like, I get it. I understand why some will love it. It's just not, for me. But then you get the Green Arrow story where like he's on monitor duty at the Watchtower.
That was my favorite one.
That's a great one. The one with Wildcat was my favorite. That's Tom Taylor wrote that one, and with Black Canary, and like that's where the origin of the punching glove arrow, like the boxing glove arrow, is there. There's a lot of really fun stuff. There's a great story with like Black Canary, where they're talking about marriage and things like that. It's really cool. You're gonna find a lot of stuff if you are a Green Arrow fan to love. And it just might be a little hit and miss for you. But I thought there were more hits than misses here, so I enjoyed it. But what did you guys think?
Well, let's see. This week, K Slay released a rap track freestyle that's 40 minutes long and has 110 rappers on it.
Oh my God.
This Green Arrow book had 100 pages. I don't think either of these things really needs to exist. That's just me. They're both just too long. Both just too long and too much going on. Like, yeah,
it's his 80th birthday, Kofi.
I was kind of pissed. I mean, I was just like a little bit like about this week, both of this week's books.
Yeah,
but they're the ones. I didn't finish Green Arrow. I don't think I'll ever finish it. I'm committed to finishing Venom 200 before I finish this.
Oh my God!
Like I'm gonna finish Venom before this.
Wow.
And basically, because I also. But here's the deal. Here's to make it fair. We just talked about the two best stories in here. The Watchtower, Green Arrow, watching the Watchtower, and him training with Wildcat. And I was like, okay, because at first I was like, man, I didn't even want to open this book and read it. I'll be honest. I was like, I am not a Green Arrow fan nearly enough to even approach this. But I was like, all right, I'm gonna do right by Matt. But then so I read that, and then I think I might have read after those two stories like another 40 pages before I was like, there's not gonna be a better story here. So like I'm done. Like I got the best ones, I'm done. So yeah, I was confident I had read the best stories, and I'm still confident now hearing from you guys. So that's about as much as I will ever give to 100 pages of Green Arrow anthology stories.
Yes. I mean, I thought it was pretty great personally, but I am right in the middle of my first watch through of Arrow on CW. Oh. So I'm like binge watching the whole thing. It was really relevant for me. And for like, I was bawling, crying after the Denny O'Neil tribute book. Like it messed me up because we've all lost someone, but I think it was beautifully done. So that was probably my standout. I wouldn't say it was my favorite because it made me very emotional, but it was a beautiful tribute in the form of a comic. That was a highlight for me. If you're into comics and you're this nerd person mourning someone, I just think it's a beautiful way to kind of like feel, like get up in those feels. I thought that was really nice. That was really good. And then other than that, yeah, there were some books that kind of sucked.
There's a couple in there. I was like,
I don't understand the chili recipe thing. Like I'm very confused by the chili recipe, but I'm going to still try to make Green Arrow chili. Like I'm totally going to use, I'm going to use that. I'm going to try it when it gets cold outside.
Please stream that. Oh
I will. I'll totally stream. But I did not dislike this. It's a character that I'm familiar with. So therefore I liked it. It was good. I wasn't chomping on a bunch of information I don't understand. Right. So I mean, it's his 80th birthday. I'm with you, Matt.
So let's move over. I don't know if because Kofi's been really busy. I don't know if he had a chance to look at Shang-Chi #2. Did you know?
I did.
No? Okay.
I did. Yeah.
To be fair, I am reading a ton of comics right now.
Yes, you are.
So many comics. I got to read all this Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
bunch of DC stuff, a bunch of this other Marvel stuff. Like, yeah. So I did get
when
to
I tell
Shang-Chi too. Yeah.
It's always so funny when I tell people like, "Oh, I'm working my way through comics." It's like you realize there's like 30 to 40 books from the big two alone, right?
Yeah.
Every month, every week or whatever. It's like it's a lot. So I understand.
I think I have a handle on it till Marvel hits, and now I'm like,
so Shang-Chi number 2. I know Janelle did, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
because I know you've been like
enjoying
really
it.
itching for new Shang-Chi stuff. So this one picks up where we left off last time, and has them kind of going to this mob is going to auction off a cosmic cube. And they mentioned, of course, that there are several cosmic cubes just chilling out there somewhere. They managed to get one. And all the things we liked from the first issue, again, they were kind of back in spade. There's a lot of back and forth between Shang-Chi and like his allies, right? Because he's still kind of getting used to like being this whole leader thing and appearances and all this stuff. But also the best part about this is because it's an auction for villains, there's like all these other societies here, like including the Hand and the best part, MODOK, who is just like, it just gives you an excuse to play off of these villains who have larger than life personalities, and they now have a hero in their midst who is, in a lot of cases, as they bring up, beating them up in various times before, and they're upset to like, well, we don't trust him, and MODOK's pulling his like very Patton Oswalt, don't give me high fives, and like shooting people with his mind beam. There's a lot of that stuff in here, and I thought it was fun. I thought it was a fun issue. I don't love that. Like, I was kind of hoping they would play more on like Shang-Chi being more conflicted with working with heroes, because right now it very much feels like he is a hero working with like Captain America, whatever, or Spider-Man. Yes. He is, but that first issue did a better job, I think, of like putting him on the fence and trying to appease both sides. Whereas this one is clearly like, I'm working with Captain America. This is a cosmic
especially if you're going to name the comic versus
right. like
you need a little bit of like, there's some struggle here. Like, but other than that, I thought they did a great job.
Yeah.
It was great to see these villainous characters acting so civil with each other. They're all like, I'm going to do a bid. And hey, they didn't raise their paddle. You're supposed to raise your paddle. It was kind of funny. It was really cute. Yes, we are still struggling with the pronunciation. Is it Shang-Chi or is it Shang-Chi? I always say Shang-Chi. We're getting that in the chat.
Oh, man, come on. I finally got over the song.
I thought it was Shang-Chi, but Kofi's muted.
I haven't studied Mandarin except for a very brief moment. But if we ultimately come out, I'm pretty sure it'll come out as Shang-Chi.
That's what I thought too.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
We'll
get there.
That just tends to be the linguistic shape of Mandarin. I'm not an expert.
I'm clearly not. So that's, my bad.
But Shang-Chi was great. I thought they did a great job. I want to see more, and I'm getting to know this character, and I like it. I thought it was good. Again, you can see the progression. I hope that our viewers can see it too, or our listeners, of like, new comic reader Janelle to like trying my best to make sure that I'm chewing on comic books every single day of my life. And I'm enjoying the heck out of it. And I really like these, and I want more of him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so get to the last one, because I know we got to get out of here. So this one was another long issue. It's the first issue of 5-issue miniseries, The United States of Captain America. These are going to have kind of a main story. Typically, it seems anyway, are going to have a main story, then a backup story. And the main story is very much like we're meeting these other captains that are just like regular people and have all had different circumstances that have led them to kind of taking on this mantle. They're inspired by different Captain Americas. What I loved actually is that in this one, we actually get like the inspiration is not Steve, it's Sam. I think that's cool. Like I actually like the idea of like playing with that and seeing different takes on the character inspiring others. I would like to see one later on that like has Bucky, because Bucky was Cap for a small length of time, and so that would be cool to see that. So I love that aspect. I wasn't keen on the idea of like, oh great, someone's assuming the mantle of Cap again to like as the villain, because like we've seen that in a bunch of different superhero comics, not just Cap, but like we've seen that a lot. But I thought they did a good job here. What I will say is that Kofi talked about this in this Purge review of like things being ham-fisted in because it's feeling ham-fisted in because it's talking about a current topic. It's talking about something that is a topical, right? So here's the thing. This does that. At the same time, because we have a whole part, Steve has a whole kind of monologue at the beginning where he's just thinking to himself about the American dream and what it really means. And there's two dreams and whatever. I will say this. I know some people are going to read that and are going to hate it. And there are aspects of it I don't love. But what I will say is that there's also a part of me that feels like it's incredibly important for certain issues to be continually put in your face. And this one is one that's important to me and it resonates with me. It's about people being allowed in this country, right? It's about skin color. It's about skin color that I have and I can't take off at the end of the day. So to me, that issue resonates. And yes, it is something that is clearly a focus of this issue, but it's also never going to be non-important to have someone of a different skin color and of someone so important to pop culture in mainstream America as Captain America, who also happens to be white, to say it and say it is important and to say that things get co-opted. And that's happens. That's real life. So yes, I understand where the whole like politics, not wanting politics in your comics comes from. At the same time, there is an importance for someone like Captain America to say the things he said, and it resonates with me. So that was important to me. I understand it won't be important to everybody, but that made a difference.
Well, it should be important to everybody, but what I can give people credit for is it doesn't have to be like page upon page upon page of inner dialogue that is boring as hell and I don't know what's happening. Like it can be depicted in a story that is laid out for us in a more creative and inspiring way. Because that monologue was I was literally like falling asleep. I was like, I get it. Like, I already know, like, there's a better way. For example, the end of the issue when they come back and he's literally walking through through a gay bar and tons of people partying. Like, there's ways to make it really interesting than just copping out and giving an inner monologue. That's how I feel.
I think cop out is the kind of word I see. I think this project is so misconceived on so many levels. I really am not a fan of it. Like, I think the contradiction here is this is trying to say like America has changed. It's more diverse. It's and we should make Captain America reflect that because he's a symbol of the nation. I don't see some of these very progressive people like the Captain America of the railways, like picking up this old 1950s, 60s symbol and being like, that's what I want to be in New Age America. These kids aren't worrying about Captain America. They're having orgy parties this summer. Like, this is a different time. Like, these kids are not grabbing a glass of milk and reading Steve Rogers, like, 5 Things About Life by Steve Rogers. Like, come on, bro. Like, that Captain America of the Roadways, while I like that there's a kid on the, like, protecting runaways. My mom is a nurse psychiatric nurse who works with runaways and kids, and specifically kids on the LGBTQ spectrum who have been like thrown out of homes. So this is also something that resonated with me. But like, I've seen that world and I've met some of the, like, quite a few of these kids. And it's like, I don't see any of them in their quest for identity go and be like Steve Rogers. That good old values, American old home values.
I mean, I don't even read that. I like give me
the
Loki.
people who were dressing up people who would cancel Captain America on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like this, it feels like they're trying to lump together 2 things you can't lump together.
I don't think you can't lump them together. But what I do think is that I think that right there is the seed for a book that would be better. It's right there in what you said of they're not looking to this character for their like idea of American values. Well, why not? That would resonate with that character of why aren't they looking like, what do I represent? That conflict for Cap, I think, is really interesting. and that would be worth
yeah.
exploring. But that's not what we do here.
No, and going what you said, I think I don't ever agree that things are just virtue signaling or thing. I mean, inclusivity is important. It has an effect on people. It resonates. But I would almost think there's more value in a story of what we're talking about, and Steve Rogers as an all-American perfect white man from a very old age having to update himself in face of this new America.
Right.
But he's seeing these kids and seeing and kids being like, instead of a roadways Captain America's like, I love you, man, is like, or I love Sam is like, man, F you. You like, you were never my symbol.
Whoa.
And Rogers being like, whoa, that's kind of heavy. Like, I've always wanted to be the symbol for everybody. Like, what does that mean now? Like, what do I have to do? Like, you know, how should I be approaching this job? Like, that would be an interesting thing.
But yeah, and I think they, again, like they touch on that stuff. Like they give like a hint of like the Sam thing, right? A different person inspired you, but let's explore that further. Like, let that be the focus.
Yeah, the story was good. I liked the story. It was just that monologue in the beginning was just over the top.
Like, it worked. See, this is what they did in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it was, I mean, ostensibly it's just all about Sam picking up the shield he picked up in the first scene of the series, right? But he had to go through the whole, what is America? What does it mean to be a black man in America? And what does it mean to be a black man in America trying to carry this symbol? And will I reach everybody? And like, how will that come across? Will I even be, you know, considered still in with my own community?
Right.
Or will people like Isaiah pop up and say, you're a sellout for taking up that shield? Like that was a really interesting thing.
But that was only 25% of that series, which was what my main problem with that series was that the rest of it was just kind of generic Marvel fodder. That was interesting. And that was like, I want to see more of that. And even that show struggles with that, right? Because we get that ending speech and it's like, it's like, that's also kind of trying to, you know, build a very intricate thing with like Mego blocks. It's like, what are you doing? So like, I like these concepts and I feel like they are important and I feel like they have great ideas. And there are parts of this issue I love. Like, I still love the idea of that monologue. I don't necessarily love the execution, but I love the idea and the intent behind it. But also, maybe that's not the core of what this series should explore. I think there's another nugget of an idea that's more interesting and probably would make all of us happy and more excited to read that. So, you know, we'll see. Maybe that changes in the next issue. But yeah, this is a little hot button thing. I mean, but they'll get what they wanted, right? They'll get people talking about it.
There's possibility for redemption too. I can redeem this series if I get a scene where Captain America has to throw down in a major battle royale brawl with a bunch of dudes who all have some really twisted versions of what their America is, and they've dressed up as their own, like, kind of, you know, different versions of Captain America based on their ideologies, whether it's extreme this way or extreme that way or whatever it is. And he's just like, what the hell, man? Like, that'd be funny. But
that's comics. But yeah, very, very interesting read. It was a 5th week, so there was a lot of stuff. Next week we'll get to more regular kind of shorter.
It was good. I enjoyed this week.
Yeah, it was interesting.
If you ever give me comics like this again.
He's not into it.
I already I don't touch really, like, aside from like number ones, I don't really touch the like black and whites. I didn't put, by the way, I should get credit. I did not give us Superman blue and red or red and blue or whatever. I didn't give us Wonder Woman black and gold. Those are all the same like anthology issues. Like, yeah, those aren't going to go.
Yellow, black and yellow.
So I didn't think
you were like, Green Arrow's the one.
It was his 80th birthday, Kofi. It's his birthday.
You have to read it.
I'll give you an X Factor review. X Factor is over, and it was just getting good. And yeah, R.I.P. Scarlet Witch again.
Oh my Lord, you go. Don't even get me started on that. Don't even. They
Trial of Magneto again, baby.
They killed her halfway off panel. All you saw were her legs. That's pathetic. Anyway,
and we're just rehashing things so badly right now with this Scarlet Witch stuff in X-Men Comics. But that's X-Men Comics. Hellfire Gala.
She's never been more popular than ever. Let's kill her.
Although I gotta tell you, Hellfire Gala, I've kind of enjoyed. It is a weird, just like every one of the crossovers in this House of X. It is weird.
Oh, I enjoy Gala.
Yeah, Yeah.
I thought the concepts were interesting again, even if like, you know, there was so many, but I will just, this just was like, really? Like this, I don't know. I'm not.
Well,
again,
that's why X Factor got X'd. All right.
Oh, poor thing.
Yeah, nobody cared.
But that's comics.
All right. And I think that's it, isn't it? Do we have anything else?
No.
Is that it? Oh yeah, we're way over. Yeah. Let's just get out of here now. We've outstayed our welcome by a lot. That'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. Clearly, I have no handle on the show today. We have gone way over. But thank you guys who are all still here for tuning in. As always, we are putting up new episodes Fridays at noon on all your favorite podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and we're also live on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. So check us out there. Follow the Comic Book Nation Twitter feed so we can keep in contact with you guys. And if you want to contact us all, if you're watching, you can see our names on the screen. But if you're just listening, I am at Kofi Outlaw.
I am at Aguilar CB.
I am at Janelle Wheeler.
And we are going to be praying that by next Friday, in the end of Loki episode 4 or 5, maybe we'll also have a Spider-Man trailer. Some people are in the comments claiming it's dropped in India. I don't believe you.
I looked on Twitter. I didn't see it.
I don't believe you. Until you send me a link, I don't believe you. But by next
week,
that
pop up, and
I'm hoping. I am really seriously hoping. Because the merch is out there now, so I'm really seriously hoping we have a lot of Spider-Man to talk about by next week. Until then, you guys take care. Everybody over here in America, happy Independence Day. Happy birthday, Mom. I love you. And I think that's all the shout-outs I'm doing. Peace.
Bye, guys.